with 22 players traded in and out between the Padres and other teams, AJ Preller, he keeps it very, very interesting. And I can't wait to talk about it, which I'm going to be doing next. I have been wanting for a long time to do slightly longer videos. I definitely have done a bunch of TikToks, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, following sports. I've always been a big sports guy. My name is Ryan, as the name of the channel would, indicate. So I just wanted to talk a little bit longer about something that I'm interested in. I hope to do this semi-frequently, as much as I can, with just my schedule and whatnot. But I just like talking sports, and I just wanted to talk a little bit longer about one. So today, like I said in the short opening, I am going to talk about the Padres trade deadline, as I'm a Padres fan from San Diego. Lived there for 21 years. Actually going to the game on Monday in Arizona, and then going on Friday when they play the Red Sox at Petco Park. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the trade deadline, I just thought it was a very interesting dynamic with the Padres and AJ Preller. There was 22 players total traded, between Padres and other teams, in 5 total trades. They had 6 MLB players come in. They got 8 total players. 2 were the minors, which was Will Wagner and the prospect from Milwaukee, the trade with the Milwaukee. But yeah, it was just very interesting because there was definitely a lot of talk about how, like, the trade deadline, like, people weren't sure if the Padres were going to make a lot of moves, or how big of the moves they were going to make if they did, or whatnot, or if they even had money to make the moves. So yeah, definitely this blew my expectations. I mean, I thought they maybe oh, they did like the O'Hearn and Laureano trade maybe, and that would be it, which, I mean, I would think was all right. But yeah, they did quite a bit, which is very interesting. I think some of it is kind of fascinating because I kind of feel like they're in a position where they kind of have to keep doing these moves, which isn't necessarily good, you could say. But like, they've spent so much money on like Manny Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Musgrove, Merrill, Darvish, all those guys, to varying levels of success so far. But it's like they're so far in, they like kind of have to do this. Because I know there's some, talk of like, if they were struggling, like, oh, they should sell a little, because they've been kind of like hanging in there, but not like super, up and down besides the first couple weeks of the season. And then just like at the point where it's like, you kind of have to just like go all in, or as all in as you can, given that they traded a lot of prospects. So they obviously had some prospects people wanted, but not, to the high level of previous years. But yeah, they improved the bench, or their roster, quite a bit. In left field, which was, I'm using Baseball Reference, it was third worst, WAR -2, which is crazy. Catcher was -1.7, which was the worst. They upgraded DH, which is -1.5, second worst. And that one's interesting because I like Sheets would DH a bit, but then they'd also use it as like a kind of like a half day off for like a Bogarts, Arise, Machado, the Tatis, I'm not sure, but and then, which I think kind of is why the bench is terrible, -1.7, which was the worst. And this was all as of like this afternoon on Saturday, August 2nd. And they added to the relief pitching core, which was the best, at a 4.1 more so far. So yeah, they definitely took, I would say, most of their worst positions and areas and definitely improved them, and they improved a spot that was already strong. So that's good. I think it's good. I think the Freddie Fermin one is kind of interesting. I know some people were a little, and even I was like, oh man, they traded 2 pitchers that pitched in the big leagues, Ryan Bergert and Steven Kolek, who are, Bergert was pitching better than Kolek, but I kind of liked them both. They're kind of like back end of the rotation pitchers. For Freddie Fermin, who is an upgrade over Martin Maldonado, who was the lucky one of the two between him and Elias Diaz to get traded. He has a 50% higher batting average, which, whatever that means to you, how you feel about batting average. But his K percentage is also half of Maldonado, so he definitely puts the ball in play a lot more. And I saw somebody talking about how he's very good selective bunter, which I thought was interesting. Knows when to bunt for a hit, and his exit velocity is 6 miles an hour faster than Maldonado on average. So I think that's positive. It just means he hits the ball harder. So that would pretend to me that it tends to would get more hits. Because Maldonado, he was bad. He was pretty bad. I mean, he hit a home run here or there, hit here or there. Like Diaz was not that great either, but I can at least kind of see he has a little more offensive potential as 34-year-old, 35-year-old catcher can. So I mean that's interesting. But yeah, I think Fermin is definitely going to improve catcher, which it's hard not to because it was so bad. And he's a decent defensive catcher, which is good because I mean those guys, neither of them are great. I also think the bench got better, just sheer fact of Gavin Sheets kind of gets pushed off to the bench more frequently. And that might be good for him because it kind of felt like when he was in left field more often that he was not in, maybe it just kind of wore him out a little bit. So maybe he can be more DH first base. But then there's him and O'Hearn, which are a little kind of redundant. And O'Hearn is probably slightly better than Sheets at least. They got Ramon Laureano, who I remember from Oakland, which I think he was one. I know Cespedes had the nice throw at Angel Stadium, but I think Laureano had a really long throw at center field. I want to say the Coliseum that one time, but he's having a good season. I think him and O'Hearn, I think their OPSs were above 800 or right around 800. I think they're would be top 5 on the team because the Padres offense has been fairly weak. So, but obviously the big move was Mason Miller, the closer from the A's, who throws 103, 104 miles an hour, which was it was a shocker when that came out. He throws hard. He's just young, and he's got 4 years after this season of control. So that was probably part of why they got him. But they obviously gave up Leo DeVries, who was the Padres' #1 prospect. And I know some people had different opinions on that. I was listening to the Section 1904 podcast today, and they had a discussion about would you like teams that are more homegrown or not, kind of was the gist. I'm kind of I've never really been a big prospect guy. I watched DeVries play one time. He played in a fall league game near where I'm at. He hits the ball. I mean, the ball pops off his bat. So, I mean, it'd probably be good, but I mean, no one knows. You never really know. And I think it's very interesting discussion of because the idea was the Padres are just a team of mercenaries with maybe a couple of younger guys spread in there, which I don't really care, to be honest. If they're winning, I don't care that much. I do think there is an interesting idea of you feel more connected, maybe owe it to the team overall, which I think was the one guy's point. And I kind of see that. So maybe I'm more in the middle of a little bit more homegrown, but I mean, that's maybe why Merrill's so fun because they drafted him. But I mean, overall, I think, they're a better team than they were Wednesday. So I think, we got to see how it plays out. I mean, most of the guys they gave up, I'm not really sure are going to do anything in the future. So, and the Dodgers so far are not as good as people thought. I mean, they're still good. They're 2.5 games up, I think, because they lost to Tampa Bay as of this recording today, Saturday. So, I don't know. I think it's good at this point. I think you just kind of have to let it roll with what they've spent on the team and the long term, and how their players are aging. Some of their top players, I think they just kind of had to do it. So, that's my thoughts on all of that. So I hope you liked the video. If you did like it, if not, let me know. Leave a comment. Just, if you have any topics you think I would be interested in talking about or you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm mainly baseball, some basketball like WNBA, football, more college football. So if any of that is interesting to you, let me know, and I will catch you later. Peace.